One more orbit. So if you saw the video I posted yesterday, you don't have to go watch it now. I'll explain. I was extremely passionate, almost yelling at the camera, motivating you guys and myself in a sense to go do things you absolutely do not want to do whatsoever, right? And how that is growth, right? That pushing, that masculine drive. Now, that being said, there's also another side of me you guys see on this channel a lot, right? Another polar end, which is the feminine, receptive, creative, flow energy, right? The energy yesterday was not nearly as much flow. It was push. It was when you feel the friction, fight against it, right? The feminine energy is when you feel the friction, flow with it, observe it. Wait for this plane to pass. Now, this whole past year, until recently, I only had one, or at least I was only prioritizing one. And that was the masculine push, drive, right? Friction. And it was necessary to get me to where I am today. I'm very happy about it. But because I was lacking the more receptive, feminine flow energy, I was not in flow. I was not as creative. I was not as connected to God. I was not as clear on my mission, right? And different times call for different things, different amounts. But the best is if you can have a perfect harmony between the two, right? A perfect harmony between the two to where you do the uncomfortable shit on a daily basis. You don't get soft. You're taking the cold showers. You're pushing to failure in the gym. You're going to martial arts. You're posting the video even when you don't want to. But you also have peace, clarity, right? And flow. And it's a difficult state to master, lifestyle to master, but oh my God, will things flourish. Since I've been able to integrate both, and I'll explain how to do that. I have over about 10x my Instagram in the past 40 days. YouTube has been doing amazing. I won a bodybuilding competition. I've been feeling 10 out of 10 energy, 10 out of 10 confidence, 10 out of 10 purpose, clarity. And I wake up, it's okay, plane can pass. And I wake up every day with purpose. And I felt very spiritually discontent and honestly lost this last year, even though I knew I was doing my purpose. I was striving towards helping men, striving towards building my business. But I just felt so lost, spiritually uncomfortable. And during that time, what I told myself to get through, and it's true, is that spiritual discomfort is a necessary shedding of the old self, right? It's necessary. And I have some guys going through this right now of facing some demons. And a lot of times when we're facing demons, it's uncomfortable and we think it's wrong. We think we're not supposed to feel it. If we feel it, it hurts us more. But it's the numbing that hurts us more. It's the weed smoking. It's the, giving into lust. The numbing, and when you feel these things, these unaligned things, internal discomforts, pushing them down and numbing them is exactly what keeps them inside you, brother. The way they release is you literally face them. You feel them fully, which is uncomfortable, and there's nothing you can do to get around the discomfort. There's no easy way to let go of the trauma or let go of the past identity. A lot of planes on a Wednesday morning. But you need to stay on the path, right? It will all pass. You need to stay on the path. Now, to feel this sense of 10 out of 10 clarity, 10 out of 10 energy, most people need to go through a state of extreme spiritual discomfort and maybe even spiritual unalignment. Not saying you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you are facing those traumas and it's extremely uncomfortable and you have doubt, you feel lost, but you know that you're on the path, right? You know you need to be there. Now, you always also have the upward pendulums where everything feels like it's smooth, going well for me right now. But at the same time, it's not just, okay, by chance, this part of life comes, this part of life comes. It's that ability to reflect internally, whether through meditation, journaling, breath work, a walk, and realign your why, your desires, your actual purpose for your day, for your mission. Once you have that reflection, you have that clarity, you then operate for the rest of your day from that point, right? But if you're operating your day from the wrong desires, from prideful desires, lustful desires, greedy desires, you will never feel spiritually aligned. Never will. And so I haven't talked much about balancing the masculine and feminine energy, but we all have both, guys. Like that's a big problem. That's why you see for a lot of like the manosphere, you have men who think that any sense of femininity and pure masculinity, material domination, masculinity, dominating over women, dominating over animals, extreme lust for material success, and not just freedom, but overconsumption, right? Hedonism, chauvinism, and that's the lack of the feminine energy, right? That is a lack of the feminine energy with man. That is something empty within you that you feel like you need to prove to the world or prove to yourself that you can do that, or that is what is masculine. True masculinity is a pure sense of peace within, the pure sense of assuredness that you don't need that. You don't feel the need to dominate women. You don't feel the need to dominate animals. You don't feel the need for more material success that would actually give you freedom or benefit the world. Right? You don't feel that because you have wholeness within you. You know who you are, and you're focused on your mission. That is spiritual masculinity and real masculinity. And you'll see a lot of these guys are like a Christian focused, Jesus focused, and they base their sense of masculinity in the material success, right? In the domination, and that there's nothing biblical about that. Jesus, his masculinity, his form of masculinity was the most compassionate, was the least chauvinistic, least material focused, but that is real masculinity, right? And you only get that once you have internal abundance, internal confidence, and then from there, it is guided with the feminine energy, right? Whether that's from another woman or whether that's from your own sense of cultivation and reflection and flow. And so I think that's one of the biggest problems with the world nowadays, is because the self-development is phenomenal. Male self-development has saved so many men's lives, but it's still centered around that materialism and domination, right? There's a lack of compassion and a lack of true spiritual masculinity within the self-development space. And I've had it. I had it the full last year. I was trying to be masculine. I tried to be, I'm the authority. Try to tell myself I'm masculine. And it didn't come until I started saying, hey, let me let go of myself and focus on others. Focus on protecting and helping others. That's it. Let me focus on my mission. Let me actually look within. Right? I have nothing to prove. That is when I felt truly masculine. So long story short, guys, wherever you guys are, I know a lot of people are lost. I'm the least lost I've ever been right now, but maybe, in a couple months I'll feel a little more lost. But whatever you do is that as long as you don't run, right? You don't run from the feeling of lostness and into hedonism, you will figure it out, because you will reflect, figure out why. And that lostness is your soul telling you there's something wrong, right? Or there's something internal that needs to be figured out. And once you figure that out, you attack at full speed, right? You attack. Right? And so it's okay to sit back, meditate, observe, right? Sit with the spiritual discomfort and then go about your life, go about improving. But you will make it, brother. I think one a huge message that I want to spread, especially recently, is that you will make it. You will get to where I am and further if you stay on the path. You will, right? And what the path is reflecting, adapting, and acting. A constant state of seeking improvement and seeking growth, in turn, seeking mission. Okay, brothers. How's that? Not bad physique. You could also be a hippie. Not a hippie, but you can also be a hippie and be jacked.